Apple is an American technology company. The company was founded on April 1st, 1976 by Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne. And to this very day, the company is still alive and healthy. How did it become so popular? Well, let's find out. Founding and incorporation from 1976 to 1984. Apple Computer Company was founded on April 1st, 1976 by Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne as a business partnership. The company's first product was the Apple I, a computer designed and hand-built entirely by Wozniak, and first shown to the public at the Homebrew Computer Club. Apple I was sold as a motherboard with CPU, RAM, and basic textual video chips, a base kit concept which would not be marketed as a complete personal computer. The Apple I went on sale in July 1976 and was market priced at $666.66, which is $2,995 in 2019 dollars, adjusted for inflation. Wozniak later said he had no idea about the relation between the number and the mark of the beast, and that he came up with the price because he liked repeating digits. Apple Computer Incorporated was incorporated on January 3rd, 1977, without Wayne, who had left and sold his share of the company back to Jobs and Wozniak for $800 only 12 days after having co-founded Apple. Multi-millionaire Mike Markula provided essential business expertise and funding of $250,000 during the incorporation of Apple. During the first 5 years of operations, revenues grew exponentially, doubling about every 4 months. Between September 1977 and September 1980, yearly sales grew from $775,000 to $118 million, an average annual growth rate of 533%. The Apple II, also invented by Wozniak, was introduced on April 16, 1977, at the first West Coast Computer Fair. It differs from its major rivals, the TRS-80 and the Commodore PET, because of its character cell-based color graphics and open architecture. While early Apple II models used ordinary cassette tapes as storage devices, they were suppressed by the introduction of a 5/4-inch floppy disk drive and interface called the Disk II in 1978. The Apple II was chosen to be the killer desktop platform for the first killer application of the business world, VC Calc, a spreadsheet program released in 1979. VisiCalc curated a business market for the Apple II and gave home users an additional reason to buy an Apple II: compatibility with the Office. Before VisiCalc, Apple had been a distant third-place competitor to Commodore and Tandy. By the end of the 1970s, Apple had a staff of computer designers and production line. The company introduced Apple III in May 1980 in an attempt to compete with IBM in the business and corporate computing market. Jobs and several Apple employees, including human-computer interface expert Jeff Raskin, visited Xerox Park in December 1979 to see a demonstration of the Xerox Alto. Xbox granted Apple engineers 3 days of access to the park facilities in return for the option to buy 100,000 shares, which is 5.6 million split adjusted shares as of March 30th, 2019, of Apple at the pre-IPO price of $10 a share. Jobs was immediately convinced that all future computers would use a graphical user interface GUI, and development of a GUI began for the Apple Lisa. In 1982, however, he was pushed from the Lisa team due to infighting. Jobs then took over Wozniak's and Raskin's low-cost computer project, the Macintosh, and redefined it as a graphical system cheaper and faster than Lisa. In 1983, Lisa became the first personal computer sold to the public with a GUI, but was a commercial failure due to its high price and limited software titles. So in 1985, it would be reproposed as the high-end Macintosh and discontinued in its second year. On December 12, 1980, Apple, ticker symbol AAPL, went public, selling 4.6 million shares at $22 per share, which is $0.39 share when adjusting for stock splits as of March 30th, 2019, generating over $100 million, which was more capital than any IPO since Ford Motor Company in 1956. By the end of the day, the stock rose to $29 per share and 300 millionaires were curated. Apple's market cap was $1.778 billion at the end of its first day of trading. Success with the Macintosh from 1984 to 1991. In 1984, Apple launched the Macintosh, the first personal computer to be sold without a programming language. Its debut was signified by 1984 a $1.5 million television advertisement directed by Ridley Scott that aired during the third quarter of Super Bowl XVII on January 22nd, 1984. This is now hailed as a watershed event for Apple's success and was called a masterpiece by CNN and one of the greatest TV advertisements of all time by TV Guide. Macintosh sales were initially good but began to taper off dramatically after the first 3 months due to its high price, slow speed, and limited range of available software. In early 1985, this sales slump triggered a power struggle between Steve Jobs and CEO John Sculley, who had been hired 2 years earlier by Jobs. Using the famous line, "Do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or come with me and change the world?" Sculley decided to remove Jobs as the general manager of the Macintosh division and gained unanimous support from the Apple board of directors.